And we're here today with two guests today, actually. We have Richard Savage, the CEO of Crystal Lake Mining, and we have Dr. Peter Lightfoot, geologist many have known in numerous different companies over the last, how many years, Peter? A few years, but right now with Crystal Lake Mining.
As a consultant for 2 years now.
Yeah. Well, we're here to discuss Crystal Lake Mining a little bit more, as obviously you've been drilling there for some time. There's been some developments. I'll pass it over to you, Richard. For those who don't know, who is Crystal Lake Mining and what are you up to at the moment?
Yeah, Crystal Lake Mining has two core assets, one in Ontario, and Peter can get into the details of these, but the Rainy Risk District in Ontario is a full district property that we have. And then we just acquired Golden Triangle, Burgundy Ridge and Newmont Lake, which has had a vast amount of money spent on it. And we've just been up there starting a drill program, and very exciting.
Yeah, well, why don't we start with Ontario first? I believe it's the Nicobat property. Are you still drilling over on the Ontario property? Are you planning on drilling for as long as obviously weather can permit?
We're not currently drilling right now, and we're analyzing that, and depending on what advice Peter and other geologist experts we have will decide what we want to do there.
Absolutely. And Peter, some of our members have watched videos on you for some time. You're very, very passionate about what you do. What made you passionate about this, the Nicobat property? What stood out to you?
Yeah, so it was Crystal Lake was one of my first clients when I started up my consulting business 2 years ago. I took a look at one of the occurrences on the property where there was significant nickel copper sulphide mineralization at surface. It was interesting. I looked at it in a regional context, and the occurrence is one of two. The other being to the northwest at Rainy River Gold Mine. But these two occurrences were not really very well known to me. I put them in a regional context, and they sit within a major structural zone. And there were a large number of other intrusions and magnetic anomalies in the area. So I basically took the view, stand back. Yeah, this is interesting. There's a place here to go and evaluate, but there's a bit of a regional play here as well. And that's where the story started for me.
Mm-hmm. And how long has Crystal Lake been mining in that area, whether it's been mined before you took over or just in general for investors who are just tuning in?
It's not actually been mined previously for nickel, copper, or precious metals. It's basically still a mineral prospect, but it's been an area really that I think has been ignored for the last probably 50 years or so. So Crystal Lake really got in there and started to put together the story, and out of that. A number of possible targets have come up, and the basis for quite a lot of future work in the area.
I appreciate it. And we were speaking, Richard, really quickly, and then we went into Ontario just to focus there for a moment. But there's a new property that you've recently gone into. I believe that was the Newmont Lake property in the Golden Triangle. What brought you over there?
That area's had $16 million spent on it, and we wanted to get into that area just for diversification for the benefit of the shareholders. And it's 436 square kilometers, so it's a huge property. There's a lot of money being spent in the area where we have majors around us in that property, and 43101 reports. I mean, again, Peter can talk to the details of these things. But we just thought it was a tremendous opportunity with that kind of money being spent and never drilled. And we've gone up and we've started drilling. It's very exciting to see what's up there. There's some land that's never been seen before with retreating glaciers. And we just want to maximize the potential that land may have.
Yeah, and we had a couple, so we turned to some of our investors as I'm not sure if the two of you know, we do have an investment community, Follow the Money Investor Group, and a huge chunk of our community is love the mining exploration sectors. They're all about. So we turned to them for a couple of questions, and these may be for yourself, Peter. One was when it comes to drilling in Newmont Lake property, how late into the winter can you drill up there? Is it already taken place? What's the drill program looking like exactly?
Yeah, so the acquisition of this project took place fairly recently, and so this year we're not expecting to be on the ground doing very much work. In reality, at the sorts of elevations we're talking about right now, it's pretty hard to carry on work. The snow has arrived, and it's getting more difficult in the higher elevation areas of the property, and it's some of these areas that really are the more interesting, in areas where there has been a significant retreat of the ice. New mineral showings exist at surface, and these are the crux of where we want to follow up. So it's definitely an area that we're going to be putting together a lot of information from previous work. It's called a compilation process. We'll be putting that data together. There are about 20 odd opportunities to evaluate on the property. We'll be going through those over the winter and ranking them and making the best possible decisions on a drill program and further work for next summer.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. 'Cause it's interesting that you said how the glaciers have gone down, because one element that we started seeing in other different plays across Canada is that we're starting to see that with these really, really abnormally warm summers, is it safe to say that we're starting to see in different parts of Canada especially, that we're finding parts of mountains, we're seeing parts of mountains that up until this point had never showed themselves because of all this ice? Is that like a recurring theme over the last few years?
Yeah, and in my view, it's an ongoing effect. There is definitely a shift in climate that is producing this effect, and we are seeing new geology and new mineral occurrences as a direct consequence of melting.
Oh. It'll be exciting, right? Especially if over the last 2, 3, 4 decades, whatever it be, previous people, whether they've been into a spot or not, they might have looked at that, hadn't seen much, but now we're having a better view of these things and hopefully being able to find deposits, like you said before, are just starting to show themselves.
Yeah, it's a matter of doing the work. When a new occurrence is discovered, you've got a lot of basic field work to do, a lot of sampling and rock chip sampling, geochemistry, geophysics. There is a pile of work to be done in these areas, and the opportunity for discovery associated with this is very good. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of discovery, I don't know if I can necessarily label it as discovery, but another question from one of our investors was Burgundy Ridge. What enticed you to look into that area?
Well, Burgundy Ridge is an area where this is a classic example of basically new occurrences of malachite-stained rocks and gossans at surface in association with a carbonate next to a porphyry stock. It has some of the elements of what might be skarn mineralization, and the copper and gold values that have come out have been very encouraging. So we've definitely focused this season on that particular area in order to better understand it and to develop a groundwork and framework for next summer.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one last question for you. When it comes, and this is for yourself, Richard, when it comes to what investors should be looking into over the next little while, what are areas that investors can be excited about? And what are we looking into any needs for financing coming up, or what are those different areas that as an investor we should be prepared for?
Since which we really are, we're going to have sampling results and drilling results over the next 2 months. Then we come into winter and we've got Rainy River District to look at. And in a recent news release, we talked about non-resource opportunity that came to us unsolicited. So we will have something to talk about in all seasons, and I don't know of any other mining companies or many other mining companies that have that opportunity. So that in itself, I think, offers investors huge potential. So it's not just a seasonal play. As far as our recent acquisition, and Peter maybe could have the final word, we're on the same trend as Garibaldi Resources, which is working towards a discovery. We feel sampling results and drilling results will lead us to the same opportunity. Time will tell and those results will tell. And we have a vast district, again, in Rainy River, which, Peter just dived further, and we're looking at different mineral occurrences that we hadn't expected in that area. And the third opportunity. As far as financing, every financing we've done has been at a higher level than the previous financing, and we've got a great shareholder base. We've never had a problem raising money. Yes, we will need to and want to raise funds for this recent acquisition we've made. We want to do an extensive drill program, and we may spend considerable amount next summer to take full control rather than over a period of time. We have full control of it, but rather than doing it over a 3-year period, we might just accelerate and do everything next summer. And in order to do so, there's all sorts of groundwork that needs to be done through the winter, which will keep everyone busy and exciting. And we'll have, again, 2 other things to talk about prior to that spring drilling program. So there's going to be lots of news coming out of Crystal Lake.
Oh, excited to hear. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on this early in the morning and being able to speak a little bit about your company, and for all the viewers watching this and different investors to get a little bit more knowledge into who you are, what you're doing, and what to expect in the near future. So I appreciate your time very much. We look forward to having you again on the show in a few months' time when we start looking back and seeing where the progression's going and maybe breaking down some of these assays that might be coming out in the next little while.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.